It's parental child abuse, best case scenario, parental child neglect, worst case scenario, parental child abuse. Are you neglecting and abusing your child with technology? It is a windy morning here in Naples, a good thing, because I have a lot to say about one of the topics that I feel is closest to my heart. What I look around and see happening with the children, with our children in North America, the great John Roseman calls it the diseasing of our North American children, the diseasing of our children, our teenagers, our young children. What is happening around us is criminal, and there's no excuse for any parent. Negligence is not an excuse. Ignorance is not an excuse. Everybody else is doing it is not an excuse. I'm talking about manufactured mental illness, digital dementia in our children, in our teenagers, and our adult children, because we're screening our children. We're putting our children, our toddlers, our young children, our teenagers, our young adults, we're screening them from infants, age 1, 2, age 5, then all through their teens. And now we wonder why depression, anxiety, stress, suicide, mental illness, manufactured, much of it manufactured, is rampant in our society today. I'm so sick and tired talking to fathers, and in some cases mothers, coming to me and asking about their child. Oh, Michael, she spends the entire weekend in her room. We don't see her from Friday to Sunday. It's like she's not even part of the family anymore. And I'm like, what does she do in her room for those 3 days? Oh, she's just in there on her computer. She's in there on her phone. She's in there on her tablet. And they wonder why she's checked out. They wonder why she's got low self-esteem. They wonder why she's suffering from mental illness. 10 hours a day on a screen, 12 hours a day on a screen, 16 hours a day on a screen. From the time a child's eyes open up to the time a teenager passes out at 2 a.m. on a screen. You wonder why your child is suffering from manufactured mental illness. You wonder why your son is depressed. You wonder why your son or daughter don't want to participate in any athletics or any school. They don't want to go to church. They've lost their ambition. It's because of you. It's because of your neglect as a parent. It's because of child abuse. Screening your children, and most of it's happening almost from birth. I go into a restaurant now and I'll see young parents sitting over there enjoying a meal on their screens, on their phones. And where do they have the baby? Actually in the baby seat on the table or beside the table, and they give the baby a cell phone so that they can check out and not have to worry about the child doing anything, even crying, God forbid, making any noises. Can you imagine? Do you know what cell phones and tablets and screens have been designed to do over the last 25 to 30 years? Every single day in Silicon Valley, if you used your head, if you did some research, you'd actually understand what's happening instead of being buried in your own iPhone, suffering your own mental manufactured illness, suffering digital dementia. Children do what they see. Teenagers do what they see. Young adults do what they see. They see you buried in your phone. They see you buried in technology. They see you mentally gone. But if you did some actual research on the effects of screening, of screening a child or a teenager or even a young adult, those fucking things have been designed on purpose by some of the smartest technology wizards in the world. I call them the technology cowboys. They're there to make millions, if not billions of dollars. They don't give a shit about your kid, and they don't give a shit about your teenager, and they certainly don't give a shit about manufactured mental illness. It's been done on purpose. They're addiction experts. They're addiction peddlers. They're dopamine peddlers. They're in the addiction business. They're no different than the cigarette barons of the 50s and 60s and 70s. They're no longer selling tobacco to your children. They're now selling dopamine and technology. Every day in Silicon Valley, the smartest technology people in the world go to work every single day and work on a better way to addict your child, your teenager, and yourself every day. And you think that you can monitor that, you think that you can balance that, you think that you can have a little bit of screen time in your home, you think you can have a little bit of time with the phone, you think that your 2-year-old or your 10-year-old or your 22-year-old can handle that? Do you think that they can battle against the most intelligent designers in the world, the Flickr geniuses that literally on purpose are destroying your child and your teenagers and yours attention span on purpose? Why do you think attention spans have decreased from a pitiful 13 seconds to 7 seconds, and now the average attention span of a teenager, a child trying to attend school, a child going to elementary school or middle school or college or university, and the average attention span, thanks to technology, is now less than 3 seconds. If you did any research, you'd understand they've been working on the flicker. They've been working on the screen flicker, where a screen flicks and changes every 3 seconds, every 2.5 seconds. That's not news if you do some research, that your child's brain has been designed to not be able to even focus for more than 2 to 3 seconds. So what's been the result of the flicker technology that you don't even know about? A TV screen flicking every 3 seconds, a phone, everything, videos, everything, video games, is that your child has focus now of 3 seconds or less. 3 seconds or less. Oh, Michael, my son, I can't get him to read. Oh, Michael, I can't get my son to come and walk with me. Oh, Michael, I can't get my daughter to focus on her schoolwork and do her homework. Oh, Michael, I can't get my son or daughter interested in anything. No shit. They're buried on a screen. They've been on a screen. You've chosen as a mom or as a dad to screen your children. You've taken the ultimate easy way out. Well, I didn't know, Michael. I didn't know at the time. Well, you know what? Use this video as the ultimate wake-up call. Do you know what the fuck is at stake here? Your children. The most valuable God-given blessing on earth. And you're throwing it away because you don't have the guts to now de-screen your child? Well, Michael, that horse is out of the barn. My friend Dan Leonis, he lives in this swamp of technology. Dan is the wizard behind the Einstein Blueprint. He works with some of the most intelligent children in the world, teaching them math and science and biology. He's the world's greatest math teacher, period. Dan is the world's greatest math teacher. And I'm going to tell you right now, every day, especially his wealthier clients, the millionaires and the billionaire parents who don't have any time to spend with their children. And they'll come to Dan all the time and they'll say, yeah, Dan, I need you to do private tutoring with my son. He's not doing very well in math. Or I need you to do private tutoring with my daughter. She's not doing very well in math. or she's depressed, or my son is angry and frustrated. My son is worrying all the time. He's suffering from anxiety. Or my son or daughter has ADHD. They think that he needs to be medicated. They think he's got a learning disability or a learning disorder. On and on and on. Not one single time in 30 years in the business of teaching math, old school math, he does it with pen and paper, math drills. My daughter Emery's one of his students. Not one time in 30 years of taking that phone call and talking to that parent, whether rich or poor, is how much time is your kid on a screen? Well, my kids have been on a screen since they were 1 year old. Oh, well, my kid's on a screen. He's like, send me a snapshot. Send me a snapshot of the last 7 days of your kid's cell phone. Kid's 10-year-old and has a cell phone. Kid's 12 years old and has a cell phone. Kid's 16 years old and has a phone. Everybody has one, Michael. I had to give my kid a phone at 12. I had to pay for it. I couldn't diverge and take the badass life. I couldn't have looked around and said, man, this is dead ass wrong. No. I had to follow the herd. It's my job as a mom or dad to follow the herd, to abuse my child, to neglect my teenager because everybody else is doing it. And not one time in Dan's entire career as the world's greatest math teacher has there ever been one exception where that kid has not been screened by his parents. In other words, he's growing up watching videos, playing video games, on a phone, on a tablet, being babysat by technology. Steve Jobs as his surrogate father. Just toxic inputs into his brain all day, every day. So Dan always says to the parents, he says, I'm happy to work with your son or daughter. I'm happy to be their math teacher, but I insist on 100% de-screening. De-screening. We throw the phone away. We throw the tablets away. There's no exceptions. We need to de-screen, especially for the first 120 days. Just like booze, just like alcohol and drugs, just like tobacco, just like porn, just like gambling, except fucking worse. Worse. These are children. These are young children and teenagers. And Dan says to me every time, he says, Michael, and that's where the conversation starts, because the mom and dad don't have the mental balls to do anything. They say what you say. They say, well, that horse is let out of the barn. I could never do that. There's no possible way that I could do that. The horse is already out of the barn. He needs his cell phone. His friends have cell phones. She needs her cell phone. She needs her tablet. So I couldn't do that. And basically, that's just an admission. Good morning. An admission of it's surrender. It's pathetic surrender by mums and dads. Pathetic surrender. You've given up on your child. How can you even look? How can you even look in the mirror in the morning? The man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror. If I were you, I would just keep walking past that bathroom mirror every morning. Shame, you've given up on your kid. You don't have the guts to do what's right. In my world, I ban cell phones at McLean Insurance. I took the cell phones away from 23 of my employees. I said, you will not bring a cell phone in this building, and if you do, you will surrender it, and then you will get it back at lunch, and you'll get it back at the end of the day. I'm paying for your mental and physical focus. So I took the cell phones away from grown adults. That's how powerful the addiction is. And I said to them, if you don't like it and you don't sign the contract, fucking out the door. I don't give a shit whether you work here or not. 23-0. All 23 signed the contract, handed in their cell phones, and went back to their work, and we increased productivity by 50%. No longer was Sally on Facebook all day. No longer was Tom checking ESPN, NFL sports all day. No longer was Ann shopping on Amazon. I took the phones away. That's called brass balls. That's called leadership, and those are adults. They're not my children. Same thing with my barbershop. I started up my barbershop. What's the first thing I did? I put in the lockers and I took the cell phones away and I made them sign contracts and to the barbers and I said, listen, if I catch you on your cell phone during working hours, I don't care what you do on breaks or lunch. If I catch you on your cell phone during breaks, strike one, strike two, strike three, you're gone. Never in 6.5 years as the #1 barbershop in the entire country, never ever a problem with productivity, never a problem with focus, never ever a problem with cell phones. I took them away. Just like any parent who gives a shit about their kid will de-screen. If you screen them, it's now your job to de-screen them. You and your wife connected. And the best way for that to happen is for everybody to de-screen when they're at home. You get home at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, all your phone should be locked away too. So you're actually mentally present with your children. What you're mentally present. When it comes to children, here's something to think about. Okay? Little is taught. Everything is caught. As a parent, little is taught. Everything is caught. Your children don't do what you say. They don't do what you preach. They do what they fucking well see. And they see you buried in technology and they see you buried texting and wasting away your life. And you're not fooling me. There's a study out where they do technology studies. 97% of email, 97% of email, this is a study, 97% of email is personal. So what do you think texting is? It's even worse. I bet you texting, 99% of it is personal communication. Oh, I need my phone for business. Oh, I need to text for business. I need to be connected for business. You may be able to fool some people, but you don't fool me. Less than 3% of email is used for business. It's just children playing. It's fucking playtime. Texting is playtime. Oh, let me talk to Bob. Oh, let me talk to my drunken golf buddies. Let me get my golf game together today. Oh, let me see if I can make my daughter's doctor appointment here. All on company time. Productivity at all-time low. All-time low. You may fool other people, but you don't fool me. Why do you think I took away the phones at my insurance agency? Why do you think I took away the phones at my barbershop? Because we wouldn't have been able to get anything done. Same thing with my hockey team. Oh, Michael, my teenagers, they couldn't live without their phones. They would be so unpopular. They would be so different. They would be so a maverick. They'd be so renegade. If my kid isn't maverick and renegade, I haven't done a job as a father. Krista and I haven't done a job as parents. Are you kidding me? The last thing I want is for my kid to be congruent. The last thing I want is for my kid to be a rule follower. The last thing I want is my kid to live a life of quiet desperation like the 99%. You're leading your kid down a path, a dark hole of quiet desperation. You're leading them into a world of manufactured mental illness. You're leading them into a world of depression, anxiety, suicide, and toxic behavior. Just think of the stuff they're seeing on their phones. The bullying, the negativity, the video games. All stuff that simply destroys a young person's mind. If you had any brain yourself and you took some time away from burying your face in your own iPhone, you'd understand what cell phones do to the prefrontal cortex. That's the front part of your brain, by the way. The biggest muscle in your body is your brain. And just like a bicep or a tricep or anything else, it has to be developed every single day. It needs to be nourished. It needs to be protected. So what technology is doing to your teenager or your son or your daughter and you is it is frying. It is frying 5, 10, 15, 20 hours a day is literally frying your prefrontal cortex. Well, guess what? If you do the research and you even look into this a little bit, this is why your child can't focus. This is why your attention span is gone. This is why your child can't sit and read, can't write, can't focus, doesn't have any ambition to play anything anymore. Oh, my kid used to be full of dreams and hope. Yeah, they were full of dreams and hope until you started screening them. Till you did what everybody else did and took the easy way out and put a phone in their hand when they were 2 or 12 or 16. You know my thoughts on this, and I'll tell it to you straight. Cell phones and tablets and screening is much, much worse than alcohol and drugs and gambling. Much, much worse for our children. Much, much worse. That's why my child does not ever touch a cell phone, does never, ever, ever, ever on a tablet, hardly watches any television at all, maybe a Christmas special, maybe something like that, the exception, 1% of 1% of the time. I keep that shit away from my kid, just like it's a bottle of booze, just like it's a carton of cigarettes, and just like it's a vial of heroin. I compare technology to heroin. So your kid gets up and the first thing they do is they check their phone. Your kid's 12, 16, 18, 24. So every day, manufactured mental illness. So I ask people all the time, I'm like, how old's your kid? He's 12. And I said, and when did he get a cell phone? Well, he got a cell phone when he's 12. And I'm like, you pay for that? You actually pay to make your child sick. Well, yeah, and all his friends got them at 10 or 12 too, so I didn't want him to be different. So what have you noticed in your son? Well, he's not with us anymore. He's checked out. He's like, he doesn't want to be, he's a teenager, Michael. He's a teenager. Once again, another made up word. A manufactured word by the mental illness industry. They love this stuff. This is a $1 billion industry. Oh, it's not you screening your kid. It's your kid's got ADHD. It's not your fault. He or she would have been struggling with this anyways. They're a teenager. Do you know the word teenager is made up by the mental health industry? Dan Leonis told me about this. The word teenager is less than 60 years old. People didn't used to be an adolescent for 10 years. They used to be a child and then they became an adult. There was no teenager living in mummy's basement until they're 24. We're refusing to work, living in video game land, in porn land. There was none of that. Teenager is a new word. Historically, a new word. Well, she's a teenager, Michael. Oh, Michael, he's a teenager. Remember when you were a teenager? Yeah, I do remember when I was a teenager. I was out driving balls over the wall. I was playing hockey every day. I was kicking ass and taking names. I was outside with my friends, chasing girls, doing my homework, playing sports. That's what I was doing. I wasn't buried in fantasy and manufactured mental illness. It's the same as getting up every morning with your 12-year-old and starting the day with a beer. Why don't you do that at the same time? Why don't you go home and buy yourself a case of beer, and every morning, as soon as you get up, okay, with your 5-year-old, with your 12-year-old, with your 20-year-old, just have a pint of beer first thing in the morning. And then an hour later for another shot of adrenaline, dopamine. Why don't you have a hit of crack? After breakfast, have a hit of crack. This is crack for the brain. This fries your child's and teenagers' prefrontal cortex. It fucking fries their brain. It makes it impossible for them to set goals. It kills their dreams. It slaughters any motivation. And that's what it's designed to do. But you know what? It's a drug. You need to provide your kid with cigarettes. Hey, a 2-year-old and a cell phone, you need a cigarette and a lighter. Light them up, Johnny. Everybody's doing it, Michael. Everybody's smoking these days. Everybody's giving their kids heroin and crack. And like Dan says, he always says, the snowflake parent, right? The pussy parent who's like, I don't know if I can be that different, I'll try and reduce it a bit. I'll no screen time an hour or something. And he's like, do you just take a shot of crack cocaine now and again? That's what tablets are. That's what video games are. Well, we keep it to an hour of video games a day. Wow, you're parent of the fucking year. You're parent of the fucking year. You only let your kids smoke, drink whiskey, and shoot up heroin for an hour a day. Well, he has his video time before school and after school, and if he does his homework, he gets another extra hour of screen time. Great, reward your kid with tobacco, with alcohol, and reward him with heroin. You think I'm being extreme? Those things pale in comparison to the damage that you're allowing inside your home with screening your child. Alcohol doesn't do the damage that screening does. Are you kidding me? Tobacco, having your kids smoke at age 5, providing them, because that's what you're doing. You're enabling them, right? Not only are you modeling this behavior, look at me, I'm a punch-drunk tomato can too. Look at me, I'm a dad who's buried in my phone. I'm a guy who's checked out. And not only that, but now I'm gonna promote you checking out mentally too. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my kid, Michael. He just doesn't listen to me, and he's not sure. He's not sure what sex he is, and he's got these strange friends, and there's a lot of bullying goes on, and his self-esteem is so much lower these last couple of years. Just keep buying him the whiskey, keep buying him the injections of heroin, keep buying him the tobacco, and you'll see where this black hole ends. The only guarantee, if you don't step up as a father, the only guarantee is that this ends badly. This ends badly. Teen suicide age 12 to 18 is up 71% in the last 3.5 years. Teen suicide, successful suicide, children age 12 to 18 are successfully offing themselves, successfully at an increase of 71%. Well, Michael, that has a lot to do with the pandemic. You're fucking right, it does. Nice to see you thinking. But it has more to do with what the China virus brought. What did the China virus brought to our world? Excessive screen time. Goofy school screening, Zoom classes that don't work. You can't learn on a screen. Dan Leonis says it's fake school. So we had 2 years of fake school, and now your kid's more addicted than ever, because what am I going to do with my kid? It's not like I'm going to force him or her to go outside in nature. It's not like I'm going to put an exercise program together like I did with Emery. It's not like I'm going to increase their athletic sports events. It's not like I'm going to take this on myself. I have to work. So you put your kid on a screen. You put them in the room, you left them there, and they haven't come out since. That's what the China virus has brought us. It's normal to be on a screen for 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. Think about a little child's mind. He's born with incredible dreams and aspirations. He doesn't have any limiting beliefs. He believes that anything's possible, and he has a lust and a passion and an obsession for life. And then you start screening your son or daughter, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, or 12. You start screening them and you see all of that passion, all of their dreams, all of their mental health. The smile leaves their face. They're no longer extroverted, they become introverted. They keep to themselves. They become bullies or bullied. And they're living in a hole of unhappiness that you recommended and you enabled. You buy that thing, you allow that in your home. You allow your 12-year-old, your 16-year-old to have a cell phone. You allow them to smoke in your home. This is old school. Wow, you're allowed to smoke it. Well, the old man smokes, so yeah, he said, you know, I can't stop you. I used to go to public school with kids like they're 14 years old, 16 years old. I smoke at home. I drink at home with dad because, you know, he says to me, and this is top 1% thinking. He does it, so I do. He can't be a hypocrite, right? So I smoke at home and I drink at home with the old man. And yeah, most of those guys, by the way, are long gone. I've attended a lot of funerals for guys that I went to public school with that used to smoke at home and drink with the old man. Long gone. Hard life. So I think my biased opinion is I've seen the carnage. I've seen the wreckage. It's all around us. I believe, like alcohol, cell phones should be banned until the age of 18, 19, or better yet, 21. They should be illegal to purchase. They should be illegal to use, just like alcohol. They have more of a damaging effect on your child and teenager's brain. They fry that prefrontal cortex till there's no return. So whiskey wouldn't do that, beer wouldn't do that as fast as technology. So your son or daughter who's 16 or 14 or 18 isn't going to go to the liquor store today, isn't going to go to the pot factory and be served. So I believe that cell phones should not be allowed to be purchased or used by anybody under the age of 19, 21. Just like alcohol. Now, when it comes to them being worse than drugs, they're worse than coke. They're worse than heroin. They're worse than any drug you could possibly take. And by the way, once your kid's screened enough, the next step is for them to be medicated. It's the last nail in the coffin to medicate your child because they either have too much energy or not enough, and you have to medicate them for each. You're shamed into it. You're shamed into it by the education system. Somebody sees your kid as depressed. Your kid is depressed. They're on a screen 18 hours a day. So just like drugs and alcohol, there should be no access to cell phones or tablets until, like I said before, 18, 19, even 21. The same rules we have for tobacco purchase, the same rules we have for buying alcohol, the same rules we have in states and provinces where you can buy it for buying marijuana. All the stuff that attacks you mentally, all the stuff that destroys lives, all the stuff that creates anxiety, depression, drives suicide, frustration, anger, ruins lives. Cell phones need to be put in with that group because they're the top of the pile. So I wanted to get that off my chest. I don't give a shit whether you agree or disagree. You know what? Let me talk to you as a father. You can win this argument. You can fight. You can fight to win your side of the argument. Well, Michael, that's not true. And my kid needs a phone. He's 14. I could never, ever put that horse back in the barn. My kid would be strange and weird. It would be strange for him to be at school focusing and reading and writing and learning. He needs to be on his phone all the time. It would be strange for him to be happy, healthy, wealthy, all of that stuff. So you go fight for that, okay? You don't take any account. You fight for that. And that's the hill you'll die on. And you'll die on that hill fighting for depression, fighting for manufactured mental illness, fighting for digital dementia, for worry, anxiety, and suicide. That's the hill you'll die on. That's the stuff you are fighting for when you don't take responsibility for what you've done to your child. When you don't take responsibility for the behavior you're modeling with technology, then that's the hill you're going to die on. Congratulations. You fought for depression. You fought and won when it came to mental illness. You fought and won. Or you can look in the mirror, the man in the mirror, you and your spouse, and you can say, we've made a huge mistake here. And we're literally losing our child. We're literally losing our daughter. We're literally losing our son. We're literally losing them. And there's almost no point of return if we don't take massive action and go all in. It's like it's like an alcohol intervention. It's like a drug intervention. It's a technology intervention where you just say, that's it. We're de-screening our children. We're de-screening our children, and we're gonna lead by example. When we come home at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, there won't be any screens in our home. They'll be locked away. You don't have the guts for that. You're too afraid of being different. You're too afraid of taking the road less traveled. You're too afraid to not, pay big tech their monthly fee, and you're afraid to do it yourself because you're an iPhone junkie as well. Your kid's a junkie and you're a junkie. And for that to change, man, that's going to take mental brass balls. And maybe you don't have them. Maybe you don't have them. I haven't opened that barn door so the horse hasn't run out, and everyone's like, Michael, easy for you to say, wait till Emery's 12. Well, when Emery's 12, there sure as fuck won't be a cell phone. I can tell you that much. Whether she buys it herself, as long as she's under my roof and Krista's roof, there won't be a cell phone. Yeah, but when her friends get them, it's going to be hard. Well, of course it's going to be hard. That's what parenting's about. I'm not her fucking friend. I'm her father. I'm her ally and protector. I'm the lion of the family. And this lion doesn't allow things into my home that hurt my child. Simple, right? Simple. I'm a lion. I'm a badass father. I don't allow things. I don't allow a sex predator to come to my home. I don't allow my child to be around drug addicts, alcoholics, smokers. I don't allow my child to be around people that are pushing tobacco on her, vaping, gambling, porn. I don't allow her to be around people that are physically bullying her, mentally bullying her. So basically, that's what a cell phone is, right? It's that Pandora box. It's the same as taking your kid to Chicago and dropping them off down by the Chicago Stadium where the Bulls and Blackhawks play and saying, get out, enjoy the weekend. That's the same as allowing your kid to sit in their room from Friday to Sunday on their phone. Just get out. These are the best neighborhoods for drugs. These are the best neighborhoods for smoking, for crime, for bullying, for pornography. These are the swamps, the best swamps in this area for you to attend. And you're good to go. I'll pay for everything that happens, okay, this weekend in Chicago, and do what you want. You're 14, you're 18 years old, you know what you want, and I'll see you on Monday. That's what you're doing. You've been dropping your kid off in the toughest neighborhoods in Canada and the United States with that cell phone. That's the world you've opened up for them. Anti-social media is fucking poison. It is designed to absolutely make and manufacture mental illness. It's doing its job when your child doesn't know what sex they are, doesn't know what they want to do, wants to kill themselves, is violent, is sad, is depressed, is anxious. That's all on you. That's all on you for opening that portal. You've opened a portal to the worst of the worst in this world. Inputs matter, right? Great books, walking in nature, all that stuff really matters, right? You've opened a portal you've opened the ultimate hole of unhappiness for your son or daughter. Shame, shame if you don't turn that around. So if I had let the horse out of the barn, I would be doing a 100% digital detox. I would be getting help personally for myself and my wife. I'd be getting help personally for my son or daughter. That's why there are these digital detox camps now. The mental industry loves this, right? Sell phones, sell tablets, sell MacBooks, sell social media, sell it all, how cool it is, and then provide the treatment. Okay, give away the first few cigarettes, give away the first bottle of scotch, give away the first, here's free access to this, and then we'll help treat you. But that's what I would be doing. I'd be working my ass off as a father to make sure that horse went back in the barn. Oh, and by the way, I did let the horse out of the barn with McLean Insurance. I tried to use, common sense, and I tried to treat my 23 employees like adults. It didn't work. I got my face kicked in. So finally I manned up, grabbed my balls, and said, no more cell phones in the office. If you don't agree with that, there's the door. 23 people stayed. We had amazing productivity for the last 4 years I had it. So I had let the horse out of the barn. I let the horse out of the barn with the Blue Wings. We couldn't win, first place every year, couldn't win, couldn't beat Castleman, couldn't beat the 5-time perennial champions. The last 2 years, I took the cell phones away. I put the horse back in the barn. Marc-Andre was there. My assistant coaches were there, like, holy fuck, coach. This is next level. I said, put 21 lockers on the wall. I said, the kids have 2 options. They can lock their phone in the trunk of their car when they come to practice, when they come to games, or they can put it in their locker. If there's an emergency, parents can call the trainer. That's another one. I need to be in contact with your kid. Why do you need to be in contact with your kid? When you went to school, you went to school. When you went to ball practice, you went to ball practice. There is landlines. You can call the office. In our hockey, we could call the trainer. How many emergencies in 2 years? How many people call McLean Insurance because there was a problem? In 4 years, just fantasy sold as reality. Excuses for checked out parents. Excuses. I let the horse out of the barn with my hockey team and we were losing because of it. So I stacked the deck like never before. I gave us an unfair advantage over our opposition and competition when I took the phones away and we won the Barclay Cup in 2019. My guys didn't have a phone for 5 hours at a time, 3 hours at a time. I had their focus. When we were in the weight room, they were in the weight room. When we were playing hockey, we were playing hockey. When we were practicing, we were practicing. They became brothers because the 22, 23 of them were there playing ping pong, running together, practicing together, talking like old school. We had a brotherhood camaraderie that couldn't be beat. And people ask me all the time, they're like, Michael, how did you finally do it? How did you do the next to impossible, win a Barclay Cup in a small community? First time in 24 years. And I look at them and I say, I took those phones away. I took their phones away. They're expecting me to talk about some strategy, or I made this amazing trade, or our goaltending was the best. Some of that was true, but it wasn't number one. Number one, looking back on how we pulled the ultimate David versus Goliath upset, which it was, David versus Goliath. We did it by taking away the phones. Finally, we got serious about winning. It's like you as a dad or a mom. Are you finally going to get serious about helping your child? Are you finally going to get serious about turning your child's life around? Are you going to finally get serious about being a man and stepping up? Being a lion instead of the poodle that you are? That shit's in your home. You're a fucking poodle. If your kid is suffering from depression, anxiety, manufactured mental illness, and you've screened them, since they were a kid. Fucking poodle. Poodle. Time to turn it around, sweetheart. Time to turn it around. And like an alcoholic, or like a drug addict, when you do something, you do it all the way. You don't dabble. You don't try and trim it down. It's an addiction. Screens are an addiction. Stronger than alcohol, stronger than heroin, stronger than coke, stronger than anything like that. Your child's brain is injured, right? Your brain is injured. Your child's brain is injured. So you're going to have to take incredible steps to fix this problem. It's the same as an intervention if your kid is a heroin addict. It's the same intervention as if you're an alcoholic. It's not like, well, we're going to have a couple beers because it's Friday, or we're going to have a couple hits of texting and watch a movie or play some video games because it's the weekend or you got a good grade. That's not how it works. You're either all in or you're all out. Same as recovering from drugs or alcohol or quitting smoking. You need to control your environment. Environment is for champions. Willpower is for chumps. These things need to be taken away. Take a fucking sledgehammer to them. Just like you take a crack pipe from a person, a homeless person, and they smash it on the ground in front of them. They make the person crush that fucking thing from the devil, that pipe from the devil, and they make them crush it. I know guys that work on the street, and my buddy, he works with the homeless people in the streets, and he makes them smash it with their own foot because he wants them to see that image, and then he offers them rehabilitation. He offers them detox, and he offers them drug and alcohol addiction. He goes, Michael, he goes, I make them take that pipe and I make them grind it into the pavement, and then and only then do I say, okay, we have a bed for you, we can help you. So I got lots of friends in these industries. The digital addiction industry, the mental health industry, the homeless industry. I've got friends in all of them, and I know what really goes on. And I know what really goes on with your kids. Don't tell me your bullshit, whiny, complainy stories. Don't tell me that your wife won't get on board. This is something you need to die on the hill for. You know, there's not many things in life worth going to war for. Not many. Not many. I always say peace through strength, right? Peace through strength. The biggest military, you never have to fight. The biggest arms, you turn yourself into a warrior, a dangerous man, you never have to fight, right? Never have to fight. Peace through strength. Same thing with all this stuff here, is that, you know, it's just, it's a choice. It's an absolute choice. And the only guarantee is if you don't step up with your spouse and make this happen, the only guarantee is it'll end badly. It'll end badly. You are put on this earth. You have a moral responsibility as king of your kingdom to protect your children. Like I said, I wouldn't let any sexual predators or anybody that's ever going to harm my child mentally or physically, I wouldn't let them near my home. Well, same thing with a cell phone. That's why we're all out on that. I'm not going to allow Silicon Valley into my child's brain. I'm not going to allow them to fry her prefrontal cortex for her developing years. Your child's brain, from the time they're born to the time they're 21, 24, is just a sponge of information. That's the time where they're just, their dreams, their goals, they can learn anything. They can learn new languages. They can learn the game of chess. They can learn how to hit a baseball. They can learn how to skate. They can learn, oh my God, most powerful computer on earth. And you've allowed technology and big tech to pour gasoline. You've allowed big tech to pour gasoline into your child's brain. Since what, age 1, age 5, age 12, age 16, and now we wonder why. By the way, I'll let you go. I've said enough. Prediction. Like cigarettes, in the next 10 years, 15 years tops, cell phones will come with a warning on them. There'll be a warning on them like tobacco. There'll be the picture that scares the bejesus out of somebody. There'll be warnings on it like there's warnings on bottles of whiskey, bottles of vodka. There'll be warnings on there not to be used by children, not to be used by infants, not to be around infants, not to be used by pregnant women. Yes, there will be warnings about pregnant women, you know, on a phone, breastfeeding, or they have their kid. A lot of mums are no longer making eye contact with their child, that nurturing time where they're breastfeeding or they're holding their child, they're on a fucking phone. Mom's on a fucking phone. So instead of that eye contact connection with their baby, with their toddler, whoever, they're on their phone. So, and then the stats are in now that if you carry your phone in your front pocket like a lot of guys do, then that's just slaughtering your sperm count. It's just destroying your ability, your testosterone and your sperm count, because that cell phone is in your front pocket, right? So that just shows you how powerful, you know, 5G or whatever the hell you want to call it, how toxic that is for just a man, like what it does to your sperm count. And just do the research on this stuff. Nothing good, nothing good. Everything toxic, everything toxic. If you want to if you want to go to war and die for something as a man, if you want to go to war, and die on a mountain, I say this is the one to pick. There's not a lot of mountains worth dying on. There's not a lot of battles to go with your spouse or with your kid. You got to work with them. You understand that. But if you have to die on a mountain to win one in your career as a father, this is the one to battle. I'm going to die on this hill. I know I'm going to face some of this too. I'm not above any of that stuff. But I'm telling you right now, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to wage war. I'm not ready to wage war for business or for any of these other things, but I will wage war to protect my child. And that's what a warrior does. That's what a badass king does. You need to die on this mountain. You need to understand this is the hardest fucking thing you're ever gonna do, and then do it. And I don't give a shit about the whining, the crying. Doesn't make any difference. It's over. It's over. That life is behind you and your children. That you are out with extreme prejudice. You are out. Die on that hill. Get together with your queen and your best friend, your ride or die partner. She'll be all in. Once you do this, once you do some research and you realize what's happening, any parent with any love for their kids or their teenagers will be on board. And you just join hands and model the behavior you want. And whatever it takes, intervention, whether it takes a detox, but whatever it takes, never again. And go to battle on this. And it's going to be the hardest thing you ever did. But you know what? I don't feel sorry for you at all. You're the one who opened the barn door. You're the guy who allowed this cancer into your kingdom. You allowed this cancer into your kingdom. So you know what? Admit it and fucking fix it. Admit it and fucking fix it. If you need help with anything that I talk about here each morning, buy my hard copy book. NoBullBook.com. That's NoBullBook.com. It's a real physical book. How to not get your ass kicked in business and in life. NoBullBook.com. If you want more help, marketing and sales, life, fitness, health, building your own world, subscribe to my monthly paper and ink newsletter. I'll ship a copy every month to your house. That's badassletter.com. Badassletter.com. That's my monthly paper marketing, sales, and world building letter. If you want to join me in the big leagues with my elite fathers and husbands and grandfathers and entrepreneurs, apply for my World Builders Mastermind. That's badassworldbuilders.com. badassworldbuilders.com. Apply. I'll look at your application. Maybe I'm the right coach, maybe I'm not. If you can watch these videos, I'm the right coach. If these turn your stomach, I'm not the right coach. That's okay. Doesn't make any difference to me whether you join or subscribe or read the book. I'm doing it for guys that want to king up. I'm looking for men. I'm the king maker. That's what my license plate says up here. I'm coming up to my Escalade here in Naples, and what does my plate say? King maker. King maker. That's it. 2 words that changed my life. Kick ass and take names. Die on this fucking hill. Die on this hill. 2 words that changed my life. 2 words that'll change your life and your kid's life. Be relentless.